All right, guys, this is the last time we are doing Facebook Live, and Mark Zuckerberg and I are going to have some major talk after this. I thought we were cool. I watched The Social Network. I thought he did a pretty good job acting there, and now I'm going to take it all back. It wasn't a great script, and you're not the real Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm just not happy. So let's see if, hey Sherry, how's it going? Welcome back, guys. This is the last time I'm doing this. Otherwise, we will jump on a Zoom call because I really did want to get Dr. Brad on here, and we have a good loaded, I have a nice sheet of paper of questions that are going to be really great. So we're going to get this going here. I'm going to message Dr. Brad real quick. I'll be right back. Everyone stay here. I'm going to bring my laptop. I'll be right back. You guys stay here. No, I didn't send you one. I don't know how to send you one, actually. Yeah, if you can do it right now, Dr. Brad, you can send me one right now, and then I'll accept it. I put the Wi-Fi on in this area. I don't know if it was me that was causing all those issues. I really doubt it, but thanks, guys, for chiming in. Put down where you guys are chiming in from. It'd be awesome. And yeah, let's... I don't see a green button. Yeah, let me see if I can... Dr. Brad, if you can request in real quick, that'd be great. And then I'll accept you. I'll just message him right now. Oh, here he is. Okay, hold on. All right. Oh, he left. That was weird. Yeah. Okay. Can you send it one more time? For some reason, I saw you, Doctor. I saw it for like a quick second and then gone. So can you do it one more time, real quick? Thank you. Boston Airport, still here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, can you send it? Let me see, Dr. Brad. Oh, there we go. I got it. Let's see if this works, guys. Okay, I finally knew how to add him on here, so hopefully this works. We're going to make it happen. Hey, Dan, how's it going? Pauline. There we go. All right, this should work. Hey, guys, welcome. Go ahead and, there you go. Hey.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. By the way, like if you notice, if there's something that I worked on myself, it's resilience. It's having resilience.
Oh
Okay.
man, that was not easy. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I always blame Mercury retrograde, but this is beyond Mercury. This is like Pluto retrograde. So, but anyway, I'm just so glad that you can make it on here, and I appreciate your time. And I did do a quick introduction about what is the emotion code, just real quick, but it was on another video. So maybe we can do another quick 1 minute recap on that if you'd like. But I just wanted to
Sure.
the reason why I'm having this interview is because I think the last time I saw you on video or something, I saw something to the extent that you were sharing that this new book, this new revised book of the emotion code is coming out soon.
Right.
And something that really caught my attention that I didn't know about you, we've been friends for a while, is that back in the day, no one was catching, like the world wasn't ready to gravitate towards it and publish it out. And then
Yeah.
you making the right decision of just letting it out there and saying, I have to just self-publish it myself. And then now, just 11 years later, not even 100 years, 200 years, this is just 11 years later,
Yeah.
people are fighting over it now because the world's ready for this type of work. And so I just
Yeah.
find that amazing, that I'm so glad you had the vision to just publish it out there and then say, one day they're all going to get it. And now is the time. I think now more than ever, people are ready for this type of work and to like bring this to their homes and bring this out there to the field. And so for those guys who are just brand new here, don't know about Dr. Brad and his work, I'll just let you kind of explain real quick, maybe kind of like, how did you fall into the emotion code? Like, how did you get into that mission? Like, what were you doing before previously? And then maybe you can explain a little bit about what the emotion code is. And I have a couple of questions we can kind of just go from there. So
Sure. Well, I'm glad that we finally got connected. And hello, everybody out there. I've been seeing all these people that I know, all these names going by. So, Well, what happened was I practiced for 17 years as a holistic chiropractor in Southern California. And I was obsessive about figuring out what was really wrong with my patients. I didn't care about band-aiding them. I wanted to really know, really get to the root causes. I wanted to know why they were sick. And so that was the first thing. And then B, I had this habit of asking for help with every patient that I saw. And that was a totally personal, totally private thing, but it was prayer that had gotten me into the healing arts in the first place. And so every time I'd go to work on somebody, I would just take a moment and just ask for help and connect, with that higher power. We have a Father in heaven who loves us. And so, and I'll tell you something I learned during those years, that that higher power, God, creator, however you might refer to it, we all have different names for that creator, whatever we think, that's fine. But I learned that creator, higher power, God is source, or is whatever you want to call it, source energy, is aware of everything we're doing all the time. Because there were times during those years when somebody would come in to see me that had some weird problem going on that I didn't know how to deal with. And I'd offer that silent prayer for help, and the information would just flood into my body like an avalanche of just pure data. And it was an amazing thing. That didn't happen very often, maybe 5 times in the course of all those years. But the rest of the time, it was just little bits of information here and there, just thoughts and impressions and ideas and things. And that's usually how that information comes, right? So anyway, what I learned is that we all have emotional baggage. And we talk about emotional baggage, but usually in reference to somebody else. And the reality of it is that when you're experiencing an intense emotion, and by the way, one of the things that is in the new book is a little bit of a more expanded understanding about our emotional baggage. Our emotional baggage is not just from the intense emotional experiences that we have, okay? It's also from times where we start to feel an emotion, and you see there's this process that we go through. A caller. The emotion is generated because you see the emotions in the body are generated by the organs and most of the glands in the body. So when you start to feel an emotion, what's happening is there is a frequency that's being generated by one of these organs or glands in your body. And so when we start to feel that emotion, see, normally the process is we feel the emotion, it gets generated, we feel it, and then we move on and it dissipates and goes away. But sometimes what happens is we don't allow ourselves to feel that emotion, and so that can also trap emotions. So like, for example, let's say that in your life, you're taught that it's not okay to cry. So when that emotion comes up, you suppress it, and then because it's not able to go through that 1, 2, 3 step process and go away, then what ends up happening is it's still in there, it gets stuck. And what we believe is that when you suppress an emotion, when you swallow an emotion, when you stop it from being felt fully, those are the times we think that the processing is more intense because the emotion in the first place was never really felt. So anyway, it's a really interesting thing. So the book is coming out in hardcover probably around the 1st of May, but we can't say 100% for sure, but that's what we're hoping. And we signed a contract recently with St. Martin's Press, and so they're going to help us to take the book to the rest of the world. We've done pretty well, on our own for 11 years, just, hammering away at it. And I've done somewhere around 1,000 radio shows. In fact, hey, I'm really excited. I'm going to be speaking either Friday or Sunday to unify.org. This is through Gaia. Unify.org, I guess, is the UN's vehicle or body or something for global, conscious raising. I'm not really sure, but they have 100 million people, so it'll be the biggest audience I've been able to talk to so far. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Like, I'm excited for what's coming in this new book. I know there's also going to be some clinical trials with some people, right? There's some more testing that's going to happen behind the book, right?
Yeah, we're really excited because, we've had a research study going on now for, 6 or 7 months, 8 months or something. And Sarah Rossano, of course, whom you know really well, from San Diego who's heading this up. And our practitioners are helping us with this. And what they're doing is when they get a new client, they have them go online and fill out these forms. And these forms, by the way, are taken from standardized testing forms that are accepted worldwide for establishing baselines and measuring things like PTSD and depression, anxiety, and things like that. So they go online, they fill out this form, and then they go back to their practitioner and they get their heart wall cleared. And then we wait a week, and then we have them go and fill out a post form. So far we have about roughly right around 400 pre-test forms and about around just a little over 100 post-test forms. Well, when we hit 100, Sarah ran all the data. We have this very expensive computer program that crunches all the data and everything, and it came out with really very highly statistically significant results. 36% improvement across the board on PTSD symptoms, and 35% improvement across the board on depression. So those are like stratospheric improvements really in the world of research. I mean, so anyway, we put those preliminary results in the book, and then the research is just going to continue. It's not going to stop. So we're really, really excited about that.
Yeah, you know, I've noticed that something that's very interesting, how I know this work is getting pushed even harder. The ironic part about this all is I felt like it was almost yesterday when we were having dinner one time, and I remember telling you, I said, you know, I just talked to my father. I worked on his heart wall, and my father, for you guys already know, you know, he's an oncologist and hematologist for 25 years. And, you know, it's been amazing for him to open up to holistic medicine since he's been against holistic medicine for over that long of a time. But all of a sudden he says, okay, Emmanuel, you're meeting with a lot of clients a week. So what's going on over there in those hills? And luckily he was open enough for me to work on him, work on his shoulders, work on his neck, work on his heart wall. And he found amazing results in it. And then he was on the phone with me while we were at a conference, and he said, you know what Dr. Brad needs? He needs clinical trials and these papers because he needs to be verifiable in the scientific medical world because it's his time. It's his time, right? And then a couple months later, there it is. It's already happening. So real quick, I was going to ask you, I know you have some background, I guess, like in programming and also like, I guess, like cranial work as well. Like, how do you, I just want to ask you, we have a couple of questions here. How do you think this like cranial work and like programming you think has helped you out with the emotion code?
Well, you know, gosh, let's see. One of the best pieces of advice I can give to anybody is to ask for God or that higher power, whatever you believe in that, about that higher power. Ask for guidance. Because I got into the habit many, many years ago of asking for help. I was just asking God to guide my life. And so I became a computer programmer. And I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this the rest of my life, you know. And I recommend that really I think everybody should learn computer programming because it teaches you how to think logically. And for me, it was really a lot of fun. And I still do it. But then as time went on, then I got an answer to prayer about going into the healing arts, going to a chiropractic school. I did that. I thought, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life until I'm really old. And then the answer was, no, you're not going to do this anymore. You're done with this. You're going to go do this. You're going to write this book, and I'm going to take you to these other places. So you never really know. I listened again the other day, actually, to Steve Jobs' speech that he gave at I think it was the commencement at Stanford in 2005, and he talked about how you can't connect the dots of your life looking forward into the future. You've got to somehow follow your heart, right? But you can't connect the dots. He dropped out of school, and that enabled him because he felt that he was wasting his parents' money, and so he dropped out of college, and then he started taking classes that he really wanted to take. And one of those classes was a class in calligraphy. Because at the school that he was going to, and I can't remember the name of it, but they would do everything in calligraphy. And so he wanted to learn it. And so he did. And that's why when the Mac came out, in 1984, it had beautiful calligraphy scripting. And that's because Steve Jobs dropped out of college and took that class. He never would have known that was a dot that would have connected later, and that now computers everywhere have fonts that are beautiful. And it goes all the way back to him dropping out of college and taking that class, right? So you never know. You just have to follow your heart.
Yeah, I didn't even know that story. That's awesome. I was gonna ask you too. You kind of mentioned it briefly about this dream, this answers to prayer, and I was wondering if you can be, what I wanted to call this interview was sort of like the man behind the mission, because I really feel like a lot of people they see your videos and there's a lot of like how tos, but the reason is like, well, why is this system being introduced now?
Yeah.
And I wanted to just kind of get to that real quick and just see like, I know there was kind of like a little bit of a struggle of like staying in your chiropractic work or like diving into the emotion code. And what was the big shift that happened to you that you were like, this is the work that I need to do? Like, what was the big shift for you?
Well, it was kind of a gradual thing. Like I said, I was really kind of obsessive, probably compulsive too, trying to figure out what was really wrong with my patients. And so, I was learning everything that I could from everybody that I could, and keeping the things that worked. And everybody that's ever been in the healing arts knows how this is. You keep what works and you throw away what doesn't work. And so it was kind of a gradual process, really. It wasn't like a sudden epiphany, but there were experiences like the one I write about in the book, where the woman that came in to see me that thought she was having a heart attack, and I mean, we were ready to call 911. I tested her; it was a trapped emotion of grief from her husband's affair 3 years before, and boom! I mean, literally within seconds, all the heart attack symptoms were just gone, and that happened to me. And then so many other things like that happened to me over the course of these years that I was in practice. And it was just, I finally got to the point where I really kind of got a message from up above that this wasn't for me. This was really for the whole world. It wasn't just for me to know this, just for my own patients. I was getting great results, but really nobody else knew about it. So then I started teaching seminars about it, and I did that for a number of years. In fact, that was 20 years ago, this July, actually, that we did our first seminar down in San Diego at the Handlery Hotel, I think it was. Anyway, since then we've done, many seminars and literally all over the world. But this work isn't about me, sure. I mean, my name is on the cover, etc., and that's fine. But it's not about me. And Emmanuel, that. It's not about us. This work is way bigger than any of us. And I believe really that that what happened about this work is that, I was just asking for help from up above with everybody that I saw all the time. And so because I was asking, when you ask, you receive. And so that kind of opened things up for me to be able to bring this work into the world and manifest this work into the world. And I'll tell you something, I honestly believe with all my heart and soul that everything that's ever happened to me in my life, really, especially all of the spiritual experiences that I've had in my life, many of which have been rather profound, have enabled me to do this, to get to this point where I'm able to bring this work into the world, because this world is really, kind of messed up. I mean, if you look around, right, there's a lot of negative stuff going on, but there's also good stuff going on. And remember that there's always that yin yang, it's always in a state of balance, the dark and the light. And so as light increases in the world, darkness increases in the world, but there's always that balance, and it always maintains that balance. And so I've said many times that I believe that every man, woman, and child on the whole entire planet has this innate birthright to heal. We can heal ourselves. It's not difficult. And that's the most beautiful thing really about the emotion code and the body code, is that you can take the average person who doesn't know anything about healing at all. They've never taken an anatomy course. They've never learned anything about healing, and have them read the book. And all of a sudden, just by reading the book, they're starting to heal their friends. And in fact, I have to tell you the story. And if you've heard this, you'll have to forgive me. But I was talking with a woman who told me that she got the emotion code book and the book on audio and started reading it and listening to it. And her son started reading it and listening to it. And he started practicing with his friends, and she didn't pay too much attention. And a couple of weeks go by and the phone rings. She picks up the phone, and there's a woman on the other end of the phone line who identifies herself as the mother of one of her son's friends. And she says, listen, you know, your son's been doing this emotion thing with the other boys. And she said, I don't know what he's doing, but I have to tell you, she said, my son, for, you know, since the beginning, has had this severe phobia of water. And it's been very disruptive to his life and our life as a family. But we've taken him to everybody that we have, you know, that we were ever able to connect with. Nothing has ever helped him, nothing. And she said, right now I'm at the community pool. She said, my son's swimming, or not swimming, but she said, he's out playing in the water with the other boys. She said, your son did this. How is this even possible, right? And those boys are only 11, you know?
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing that's going on.
I don't even know what to do with that story.
I know, right? For me, it's just, I'm just the observer, see? I just observe all these crazy things going on and just think, wow, it's like I'm in the eye of this, you know, this storm that's going on. And it's like, it's this perfect storm. This work is coming into the world at this perfect time. I mean, think about, I think you were saying something just a few minutes ago about how much things have changed. I mean, 10 years ago or 11 years ago when the book first came out, you know, I talked to different publishers and nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody. And I just thought, well, you know what? Fine. I'll do it myself. So I taught myself how to use Adobe InDesign and, you know, laid the book out in there and just published the book myself. They told me, publisher said, you know what? If you self-publish your book, everybody's going to know it. It's going to look like a really schlocky looking self-published book and really amateurish. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to show you guys. So, so that's what we did.
And by the way, the book looks really good. Like the cover looks great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I laid all that out.
I'm not being biased here as a body code practitioner. I'm not being biased.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So I'm glad you shared that. And I think I've just a couple of quick questions here. I know like we're kind of short on time, and if you don't mind, maybe we can do like a little machine gun thing. But before we do that,
yeah, go ahead.
I know there's an amazing event happening all over. There's all over the country. There's an event, but I know there's one in Utah coming up next month.
Yes, it's coming up next month.
Maybe you can share a little bit about like what is that event about, so everyone who's here might be able to show up there, because I'm going to be going. So
yeah, absolutely. And maybe you can help me by looking up the dates, because I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Okay. Anyway, this is the Ultimate Health, Wealth, and Relationship Retreat. And what this event is all about is it's about learning the secrets and the tips to really using the body code and really manifesting ultimate health and wealth and relationships. And it's a great event. We usually have hundreds of people that come from all over the world. So if you're not signed up for this, you really should come. Emmanuel's going to be there. Of course, I'll be there. All of our staff will be there. And so you'll learn things that you had never thought of before. You'll learn about ways to use the body code that had never occurred to you before, and that can really accelerate things for you and really change not only how you work with yourself, but also how you work with your family members and friends. And it's a fantastic event, and it's really, really fun. And this is probably the last one of these we're going to do. Yeah, it's October 25th. It goes for 2.5 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday goes till, noon or 1 or something like that. But it is just one speaker after the other. I speak, and we have some of our other staff practitioners who speak and talk about various topics, and it's just a phenomenal event. This is the 8th one. This will be the 8th one that we've done, and yes, the last one of these that we're going to be doing. Actually, we're going to be changing it and doing something different this coming year, but this is a great opportunity, and it's really inexpensive too. I really honestly don't know exactly how much it is, but it's not very much. I just go where they tell me anymore.
Yeah, so you guys are going to be changing it up. Just make sure you send the memo to my email. That'd be great. I'm just kidding. But
okay.
But no, I was but it was it was interesting, because just talking about that event, I mean, I think the thing that I got out of it from you guys who know me is that I think the best way to learn, especially with languages, let's say if you want to learn a language, is through immersion, to immerse yourself in something. And a lot of people ask me, like how do you become more proficient as a practitioner? How do you become more proficient? If you really ask anybody if they become good at anything, it's really just they immerse themselves in the work. And so to
Yeah.
immerse yourself with people that are being very successful and people that are teaching the right way, I think that's the only way to do it. And so so great. So let's do a couple of questions here real quick.
Okay.
So
And just to answer
oh,
Jennifer,
sure.
yes, anybody can attend, and you don't have to own the body code. You can come and watch and learn, no problem, no limit.
Okay, so let's see here. So yeah, so I have a April Freeborn. She had a question about what will prevent something in regards to coming. Like let's try to make these like kind of like short questions, short answers. We're just gonna fly through these real quick. She just said real
Sure.
quick is how do we prevent things from coming back? Like if we release something, like how
Hmm.
like have you seen things that they've come back before, or
Oh
is
yeah,
there a way to make sure that they don't come back? Yeah.
yeah, sure. Here's the thing, okay? When you work with somebody, and I worked with people who had been told for the last 10 years of my practice, I worked primarily with people that have been told there was no cure for them, no help at all available for them. And sometimes what we would see with those people is they've been chronically ill, for 20 or 30 years. Sometimes when we would work with them, when I would work with them and do the very first session, sometimes their symptoms would all completely disappear. And that might last for 24 hours. And then the symptoms would start to come back. And they'd be super excited during those 24 hours and think, my gosh, I'm cured. But then the symptoms would start to come back. And then they'd come back to me and they'd say, well, what's going on? Well, what happens is when you're sick like that, the subconscious mind will give you a glimpse of where you can go.
Oh
It's your
wow.
subconscious mind. It's your subconscious mind's way of saying, you know what? You're on the right track, buddy. I'm going to show you what this is going to be like. Here's a little glimpse. And then it takes it away because there's more work to do, see? And so that's okay. You know, there are, I could tell you stories, but it would take up all the time. So
That's
let's
okay.
keep going.
No, it's good. Yeah. And then a question for myself is like real quick is, how did you find out about these things sort of like, I know the heart wall was a vision that you had, and then you've had certain dreams. Now, with things in the body code, there's some amazing, little terminologies for certain energies. One of them
Mm-hmm.
that stands out for me is like an image in your mind, or like
Right.
a despair anchor of like something. It's like a broken record in your head. Like I was
Yeah.
curious, like how did these come to you in regards? You're like, you know what, that person has a despair. Like, how did that? I was just curious,
Yeah.
how that kind of appeared to you as like new information to you.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Those two specifically, I think, were kind of more. Gosh, the despair anchor. I think there was somebody that I was working on trying to figure out what was going on, and it kind of just presented itself, and I gave it a name. But sometimes it was very, very memorable. Like for example, with morning sickness. My wife was really sick with morning sickness, begging me to help her. Our daughter just went to college just recently here, but so she's 18 now. But so that was about 19 years ago. And so I didn't know what to do to help her. I thought of the normal things that people do, like chewing ginger and things like that, things that don't really work. They're kind of marginal. And you definitely don't want to take some kind of a medication for morning sickness because that's how thalidomide, that's what thalidomide was. And so anyway, I prayed about this and I immediately got an answer. And the prayer was, Father in heaven, there's got to be a better way to do this. And
You probably got a phone call, Dr. Brad. Hopefully you're still there. Let's see. You guys can hear me okay? I just want to make sure you guys are still here with me. Obviously, when there's a really good answer. Oh, hey, Anna. It's really nice. No. I've talked about this moment where when somebody says, you know what, I know the secret to life. Oh, there he goes. Okay, it's all right, guys. We're going to get him back. Don't worry about it. Um, Give me 1 second. Thanks, guys, for being so patient. We're at 60 here. Guys, if you guys can do me a big favor, I honestly think in regards to like a very candid interview with Dr. Brad and kind of feeling his kind of like why he's into this. This is an amazing one. I would share this on your wall, guys. Let's get the message out there about what Dr. Brad's on a mission. If you guys really care about his mission, we would share this everywhere. And so if you guys can, after this this is done here, just share this on your Facebook page, tag friends. I mean, let's get this word out there because Dr. Brad again is doing some amazing work. Okay, guys, and we're going to get him back online again. First, okay, so you were saying that you were saying something about taking like ginger or something, and then you said don't take medication,
Yeah.
and then that's where we're at. So you can go from there.
Okay, right, yeah. Sorry, I got a phone call. I'm realizing I need to put my phone on do not disturb so nobody calls me, because that's what happened. I got a phone call and I had to, and it froze it. Anyway, so yeah, what happened was my wife's begging me to help her with the morning sickness. She's throwing up and the whole deal, and so I just said this prayer, and I said, Father in heaven, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I immediately got this answer, and the answer was basically that there was a disconnection going on between the mother and the fetus. Okay. And that's what was causing the problem. And that was the answer. And I thought, oh, okay. So then I was able to figure out what was wrong with my wife and make the reconnections. And it's a little more complicated than that, but it's in the body code. And immediately the morning sickness was gone. And so, and now we have practitioners who just specialize in working with people who have morning sickness, which is amazing.
Wow.
Right?
That's awesome. It's such a great story. It's just kind of like it just came out of a need. Your wife was dealing with something, and you just asked for help.
Yeah,
that's
right.
I think that could just be the theme also for this video too, is like, guys, I think we all have the same connection that Dr. Brad has. We can ask for help, and so
yeah, that's right.
So here's the next thing here is I saw something in regards, and maybe you might know about this, maybe you might not, but she is your daughter. I'm just kind of curious, but I was looking at her services, and she said something about healing the inner child. And I don't know if you know what that's all about, but I was just maybe you can give me a quick summary on like, what is that? Is that using the body code? What is that exactly? Healing the inner child. What is that?
Well, the inner child is an interesting concept, of course, and we didn't come up with the concept, but what we have found is that you can have, for example, if you go through a difficult childhood and maybe you're bullied or traumatized or abused in some way, then eventually you turn into an adult. You can have these two sort of almost like personalities, really, and you can have separate trapped emotions in the inner child. You can have a separate heart wall in the inner child, and the separate one in the adult. And so it's kind of a specialized thing. You need to know what you're doing when you go back and you start working on the inner child, because it's, you have to use some caution, but it's something that we're going to be teaching in the higher levels of certification for the body code. And it can be very, very powerful. So in a nutshell, that's what that is.
Yeah. No, that is definitely a nutshell for sure.
I have heard of it.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Just making sure. I'm like, is she doing stuff behind Dr. Brad's back? Because that's not right. Okay. So here's another question. There's one from Amanda Smith. She said something like, what would you recommend to someone who works on themselves? Like, what would you say to someone who like works on themselves a ton with different energy healing modalities, and they're also into self-development? And it's almost like she was telling me, she's like, it's kind of sad that now I finally found the emotion code, and I realize I'm still stuck with a bunch of stuff, and so what like, I bet you've met clients before that they've been through the ringer through self-development, through the energy. Like, what do you say that's kind of like the cutting knife of like, this is what separates us maybe from other energy healing modalities? Like, why does this stand out? What is it to you?
Well, all energy healing modalities I think are good, but I think that the key really is where you're coming from, and if you're asking for help. Because see, one of the things you've got to understand is that not only is this a world that's full of mortal human beings walking around in their bodies, but there are also all kinds of people walking around on this planet that aren't in physical bodies, and those run the gamut, you know, from good to bad, from light to dark, and a lot of them are deceiving spirits that will throw you off if they can, and so you have to be careful. I've had some personal run-ins with these dark spirits. In fact, at one point in my life, I was surrounded by them and screamed and yelled at, you know, for about 3 hours. And that was a crazy experience. But I know about this side of things, and so it's really important. We're getting a lot of noise for some reason.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Hold on.
Okay. Anyway, I'll continue because Emmanuel's heard this before. But basically, what you want to do is I believe the highest duty of the healer is to act as a go-between for
that better?
higher power. That is, yeah. I don't know what that was,
Okay,
but
good.
I guess you
Okay.
could. So anyway, what I was just saying is the highest duty of the healer is to act as a go-between for that higher power, and you know that's really where this work came from. It doesn't have anything really to do with me. I'm just the person that's here to show you what you can do, and so, but you do have to be careful because if you're doing some kind of healing work, you know, it's possible to be misled, or it's possible to be deceived. And so that's why we really highly recommend for everybody, before you do this, you take a moment and you ask for help, you know, from up above. And, you know, these spirits that we talk about have been known about in every society since time out of mind. And of course, in the Western world, we think, oh my gosh, anybody who believes in spirits is a lunatic. But you know, let me tell you, I was on a show a few months ago in England, and I'm at home and I'm doing this show over there, and I'm talking about something about this, basically these topics, you know, and all of a sudden I start feeling like somebody's choking me, like I can't breathe, and I can't talk, and so I didn't know what was going on, and I tested myself, and you know, there was a dark spirit that was there that didn't want me to talk about these things, because they like to keep people where they are. They like to keep people in darkness, and they don't want this light coming into the world. So, you know, I had to tell them to get lost, and then I was totally fine and continued with the interview. But, you know, don't let that throw you off. I mean, the world is the world, and there's just a whole unseen world that's going on all around us, and it's okay. Don't panic.
Yeah, and I also told her too that, you know, I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to other energy healing modalities, maybe have opened them up or prepared them for the emotion code and body code. You know,
Well,
I
yes,
really think
that's
so.
true too. Yeah, and I was going to mention that, but I kind of got off on a tangent. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. No, it's no. And so, okay, so here's another one from Polly. She had a quick question. She said, you know, there's sayings that we're all souls coming to Earth to learn life lessons, and we get stuck in negative cycles, meeting the same type of people and relationships because we haven't learned our lessons yet. As soon as we've learned what we need to learn, the cycle will break and new experiences will come to life. As removing trapped emotion body code realignment tends to break these cycles, would that mean once the trapped emotion is removed or body is realigned, have we skipped the life lesson we are here to learn, or have we? It says, will the same cycle lessons eventually come back again, given the same thought process and mindset has not changed?
Well,
That's what she said.
here's yeah.
It's a good
Okay. Well,
question.
that's a great question. Yeah. And here's how I
Yeah.
look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that we come into this world and we have lessons to learn. And my own belief is that our life is tailor-made for us to learn the lessons we need to learn, to be presented with the difficulties that we need to overcome, to have the weaknesses that we have, to be able to overcome those things and grow and progress. Because existence is all about ultimately learning to have joy and learning to ascend, right? To overcome the pull of darkness upon us and to rise out of that darkness and become beings of light. And so we have this dual nature, you know, we've got this spiritual nature that wants to ascend, and we've got this physical nature that wants to descend. And so there's this constant battle taking place in every single one of us. And so, so anyway, what the emotion code does is it helps you in that ascension process, because see, you can think of your own being as being, you're a being of light, but before you start doing the emotion code work, or other types maybe of energy releasing, you have these little clouds of darkness that are inside of you. And what those things do is they anchor you to the world. They anchor you into the dark part of the earth. And so as you get rid of those, not only do you often feel lighter, I mean, people do report that they feel lighter, but also those old dark negative emotions that belong to the world and belong to darkness, you leave those behind, and you're able to ascend and move into the higher states where you want to be of service to other people, and where you're able to feel love, and feel love from the higher power for you and everything else. So it's a cosmic process, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's who we really are.
Yeah, and to add to that, I remember one time when they had question and answer at one of the healer events, because I remember somebody says, when you release something darkness, do you need to add light? Do you remember? I don't remember if you remember that question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that question comes up a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you reconfirmed that. You said no, because we're already beings of light, so just removing the darkness is sufficient.
Yeah, because what's there when you take the dark away is light. And so, you don't need to put in more light. We're already beings of light. But I mean, it's a fascinating thing, because your body will tell you whether you should watch that video or read that book. You can muscle test things, and your computer system, your subconscious mind, spirit within you, which is massively intelligent beyond our ability to comprehend, it immediately understands what those things are. Music that we watch, videos that we watch, are they, you have to ask yourself, is this light or is this darkness? What am I putting in? What am I feeding? See, you have to feed your spirit and your physical body. I mean, if you don't eat 3 meals a day, you start to get pretty hungry physically, but you've got to feed your spirit as well. And what do you feed your spirit? Well, you feed your spirit uplifting things that make you feel like you're ascending. Things that are about love and gratitude and service and connecting with other people. And, the beauty of the emotion code is that it just gets rid of those things that are tying you down, so that you can start to float. Well, I have to tell you a quick story. A practitioner told me that she worked on this little boy who was 10 years old, and he had happened to weigh himself that morning, and he knew exactly how much he weighed. And so she was there with his mom, and she cleared some trapped emotions on him. And as soon as she was done, he got up and he took off. He ran into the bathroom. And a few minutes later, he came back, and he told him how he couldn't understand it, because he weighed exactly the same as he did that morning. He knew how much he weighed, and he knew he had to be at least 10 pounds lighter, because that's how he felt. But his weight was the same on the scale, and he was just totally baffled. I love that story.
Awesome. That's a great story. Yeah. So and kids have no inclination to lie about anything. It's such an innocent.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we got just 2 more questions here, and then we can just. So Ron Michael, he said, when do we get to the point when things are all cleared? Like, how long does the average person? Of course, this question need to be brought up. How long does the average person need to be completely cleared? Is that a possibility?
Well, clearing is a process. Let me share a story with you. Okay.
Sure.
I thought that I'd gotten pretty well totally cleared out when I was writing the Emotion Code book. And it was 2 years after the book was published that my daughter worked on me and cleared this inherited trapped emotion of hopelessness that I had that went back 22 generations. I never ever would have found that on myself. And, I thought that I cleared pretty much everything a long time ago. What happens is when you clear out all this emotional baggage that you have, then what happens is you're in this higher state, really. Your life, generally speaking, is working better for you, although not necessarily. But you're able to deal with things better, and life is able to, you're able to move with life better. And then at that point, it's a matter of maintenance, because the question is kind of like, Emmanuel, if you were a dentist, and if I were to ask you, well, how many times do I need to brush my teeth, before I'm done brushing them? Because I don't want to have to keep brushing them. But, life is a process, and we hit highs and lows. And so you don't stop brushing your teeth, and you don't stop doing the emotion code. You check yourself periodically, and you make sure that, if you picked up any baggage, you need to get rid of it. And sometimes, too, you'll think you're pretty well cleared out, but there can still be some deep trapped emotions that may not surface when you think they should surface, because your subconscious mind is on its own program. So anyway, and I could tell you some stories, but it would take too much time.
We'll just take, and then we'll have to do another interview where we will take time.
Okay. Sure.
And then so the another question too is let's see. I know some people had one question here, and I think you know the answer. We'll just answer the one real quick. But someone says, can the emotion code help out with addictive behavior?
Well, absolutely. It can help with addictive behavior. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need to do some kind of therapy, or that you might not need to check into some kind of an addiction, home for people that are going through that, et cetera. But if you think about it, what is it that drives addictions? Well, a lot of the time it's emotional baggage. Everybody that I've ever worked with who had addictions always had emotional baggage. And sometimes you remove that baggage, and the need for the addiction can just suddenly disappear. We've got testimonials about that from different parts of the world where that's happened with people. And so it's a definite huge component of addictions. And hopefully the day will come before long, especially as we start getting the research that's showing that it really helps, that the emotion code will be a component in every program around the world where they're working with addictions.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think so.
So with the I'm just gonna do this real quick with the we're gonna say like EPS, which will be like, tell me one really like 2-sentence thing of like the best emotional breakthrough that you've seen in your entire life, where you're like, that was a pretty amazing emotional breakthrough. Whether it's like depression, PTSD, or anxiety, maybe one physical one that maybe you took enough imbalances where you're like, wow, that was a really huge improvement. And then maybe a spiritual improvement, like if emotional, physical, spiritual, maybe like one of your favorite, like quick story of like something a breakthrough, like a big breakthrough. You're like, wow, that's very impressive.
Man. Well, you're putting me on the spot.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Let's see. That's okay. Well, one of my all-time favorite stories about depression was a little boy that came in who was 9 years old, and I could tell you all the backstory, but eventually his mom had taken him out of school. She'd taken him to see a psychiatrist, psychologist, and he was diagnosed as being severely depressed at age 9. And so he had a heart wall. And so my wife and I started working on him and started clearing the emotions that were making up this wall around his heart. And we found that this wall had been put up because of some deaths in their extended family. A couple of their cousins had died in a car wreck, and another cousin, that was one emotion. Another cousin had died run over by a hay wagon on a hayride at Halloween, run over by the tractor, I guess, and killed. And that was another layer in his heart wall. And then another emotion was where, and by the way, it was the first emotion that had created this wall, was they were with their family at this lake at a family reunion, and it was just him and his best friend, little cousin that was 5 years old, and his big sister that was 12 years old, who was teaching this little kid how to swim, this little cousin, and he drowned. And so the overwhelming guilt that his sister felt got stuck in his body. And then we cleared those 3 emotions, and then the next couple of days he's lying around kind of lethargic because he was processing, and then the next day, boom, he's back. And so that was one of my favorite depression stories. And I mean, we've got other depression stories about people who had to decide every day if they were going to live or die. And those always tend to be heart wall stories. There are stories, gosh, there's so many. I mean, amazing stories about autistic kids who won't make eye contact. That's one of the signs of autism. They won't make eye contact. And after the heart wall's cleared, boom, all of a sudden they make eye contact with mom or dad,
Wow.
Things like that.
Wow.
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's so many stories. I've forgotten, honestly. One of the reasons why I wrote the book the first time was because I was afraid I was going to forget a lot of these amazing stories. And now I have forgotten them, but luckily they're in that book. So,
refer to the book.
Yeah, exactly. See
There's a
page
newly
10.
revised one coming out too.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll end with this note here. and my client of 2 p.m. will have to forgive me. I think they'll understand. They'll be like, you know what, Emmanuel, this time I'll let you go. But I wanted to just end with this because I think this is very, very impactful, at least for me, when I looked into the emotion code. And for those of you who like know me, like you guys know how passionate I am about the emotion code and body code. It's my mission in life. And I just wanted to, something that really struck me, again, just kind of to kind of get the bird's eye view about kind of what is really happening around here. Because like I said, without vision, people perish, right? And so I think that dream that you had where you were kind of, again, kind of having this little battle with like, should I go back to my work or should I, jump into the emotion code? And then there were certain words that were said to you that you heard a voice say these specific words. And I've seen you actually gone on stage and you had the slide where it says, these are the words that were
Yeah.
told to me. And I was just wondering if we can end with that note, because I really think,
Yeah.
because I want people to know that this is way bigger than all of us, that there's
Absolutely.
and maybe you can share that at the end, and maybe if you have a final message for everyone, and then we can just end our interview there.
Okay, absolutely. Well, what you're referring to is about a year after the emotion code was published. So it'd be 10 years ago now. One morning I woke up and my mind was full of instruction, and I was being told, I was being directed to do something, and it was really specific. And the words were, you need to take everything that you've learned and everything about healing, everything you've learned about healing, and put it into a self-study course that anyone can learn and make it available to everyone, everywhere. And it was super specific. And so it took about a year after that to create what we called Body Code 1.0. And then in 2013, we took it all apart and put it back together and put in anything that we thought was missing. And that's Body Code 2.0 that's now available. And so you can go to bodycodenow.com if you're interested in that. But that's exactly what that is. And so, so really, this work, the emotion code and the body code, what they're all about is they're about helping people to have faith, helping people to learn that they can ask for help from that higher power, and they can get that help, and that they'll see miracles happen when they do. And it's about helping everybody to unlock that healing ability that we all have within us. And it is about healing the planet and raising the vibrational level of the planet. See, because we don't have to get everybody to this higher vibration before massive change takes place. All we have to do is get a small percentage of people to this higher level of vibration, and then massive change is going to take place. And so that's what these methods are for. And I see them as stepping stones. There's really there's a whole new world really that's coming, that's going to be amazing, but we're going to have a struggle to get there. But these are tools that are coming from up above to help us learn how to get there. And then eventually these tools, the emotion code, the body code, won't be needed anymore, because we'll be so ascended, we won't need them. We'll just be able to do it with, with our faith, etc. So anyway, I want to say hi to everybody. I haven't been able to type hello to anybody, and I've seen lots of people go by that I know. So I want to say hi to all of you.
Yeah. So if anyone, thanks so much for sharing that. Again, it's I can't overemphasize the fact that a lot of this came, a lot of the things that came to you were just basically just asking questions and just being humble enough to bring this type of work here. And then the most powerful thing that I got from this interview is the fact that there's probably, if we share this out to everyone, and we got this out to every Facebook wall, we could have 53 people share this out there, right? And that there'll be one day, or a 16-year-old that will see this, and probably has a tribe of people out in the middle of nowhere. He barely had 15 minutes to go on Wi-Fi and sees this, and he says, "Oh my gosh, I can heal my tribe."
Yeah.
And that to me is mind blowing. It's just absolutely mind blowing.
There you go.
So I really think that's what we should do. I mean, let's give this interview its due credit, and let's just send this out to as many friends and family that we can. Post this on your wall. I really believe this message should get out there. I want to say thank you for taking the time to jump on here. And I appreciate your time, appreciate the work. And I'm grateful for everyone that's been on here. And if anyone has any questions, I know Dr. Brad's a very busy individual, but if you want to email me at codingalternative@gmail.com, maybe I can help you out with the answer and go from there. But thanks again, Dr. Brad. I appreciate your time. So.
Sure, and we can do this again if you want. And by the way, because people are asking about things, You can go to our website at healerslibrary.com, and you can get information about our retreat that's coming up in October, which you really don't want to miss. You can go to bodycodenow.com for the body code, emotioncodenow.com, for the emotion code. By the way, in case you don't know, the emotion code is an app. It's still available for a limited time on your phone. It's a free app. Just go to the Google Play Store, the App Store, and look up the emotion code, and you'll find it downloaded on your phone. So thanks, Emmanuel. We'll have to do this again. It's kind of fun now that we have it figured out. Took a
Cool.
while.
Awesome. So we'll be in touch soon then.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Emmanuel.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. See
Bye-bye.
ya.